Then the use went away. It was legal non-conforming use.
Hello, welcome to the February 10th school board meeting. We would like to start the meeting with a prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we meet, we pray for your guidance and blessing in the decisions we make for our school community. Please impart sound judgment, kindness, and thoughtful leadership in all of our work. We ask you bless all those who play a part in the education of our community's children. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order. And we would like to start with recognition, individual student growth.
Good evening. Welcome. This is my first time with the lapel, so bear with me. We are going to start with individual student growth and then transition to collaboration, two of our 5 key guiding principles.
Oh, they already got it?
Central 9 Student of the Month. Every year, we are blessed to have a Central 9 Student of the Month. And this year, our student is Josiah Stacks in Culinary Arts. So congratulations to our January Student of the Month. Is Josiah here? If you see Josiah, congratulate Josiah. Congratulations, Josiah and his family. Our girls wrestling team. Go ahead, please come forward, members of the team.
Come on down.
This is the inaugural year for the IHSAA girls wrestling season. This year's high school team, the girls team, were the first. They were the Johnson County champions, the Mid-State Conference champions, the IHSAA state finalists with a 3rd place finish, and they finished 4th in the IHSGWA team duels. Many of these girls were individual county, conference, sectional, regional champions, as well as state place winners. Please welcome our 2025 IHSAA girls wrestling state finalists and state winners, as well as our coaching staff, Jim and Tina Tante. Are any of our managers with us? If they are as well, please come forward. Mr. Bill Doty, Athletic Director, go ahead and come forward. Our IHSAA state place winners were, or are, Alea Stevenson placed 5th at 115. Please just take a step forward. Aubrey Belzer placed 8th at 140. Jaslyn Diaz-Avalos is the state runner-up at 145. Lily Bridges placed 6th at 155. And Eleanor Robertson placed 4th at 170. Congratulations and great work. You may step back.
Testing.
As Dr. Worling gets ready to pass the mic, I just want to say how impressed I was at the state championship. My wife and I came up to watch the final round. I saw the morning with Mr. Doty, then I came back in the evening. It was great to see all of you out there, and you competed amazingly well for our school district. When I was hearing the stats of the girls you were competing against, there was some really outstanding competition, and you guys performed extremely well. So we're very proud of you. I know you probably wish you had another 1.5 points to get the 2nd place spot, but being 3rd in the state for the first ever tournament, you did us all very proud. We'll look forward to next year and you guys winning the championship. But phenomenal job on behalf of all the school districts. So thank you, coaches. Thank you, athletes. And now we're going to have you introduce yourself.
Hi.
If you were a state finalist, talk a little bit about the experience and introduce someone that's with you tonight.
Hi, I'm Aubrey, and I'm here with my dad. And I thought it was really fun. It was fun. We went there, but it was just really cold outside. It was really cold outside, and we had to wait there for a long time. But other than that, it was really fun. It was awesome.
It was a very long day. What time did you guys get up there?
Early 7 something.
7 in the morning till 10:30 at night, and they competed up until about 8 o'clock. So outstanding job. Okay.
Oh, I got 8th.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Eleanor, and my mommy's right there. And I don't know, like Aubrey said, it was cool and it was fun seeing the finals and definitely motivating to make it there next year.
Yeah. Everybody introduce themselves. The state finalists will just talk a little about their experience. Okay.
Real
All right.
quick, those first two are they're pretty humble, but those are two freshmen that placed in the state right there. Those first
Yeah.
My name is Clarissa. I wasn't a state finalist, but it was really cool going and seeing them compete. And I wrestled for 110.
All right. Thank you.
My name's Ella.
My name's Elena. I've wrestled for 4 years, 2 at a different school in Kentucky and 2 here in Franklin. And I'm really glad that I got the chance to compete with all these awesome girls right here. And I'm really sad that's my last year, but honestly I made the most out of it, and I'm really happy to have spent it with all these girls right here and for all the underclassmen. And my favorite team, Ella right here. I am very, very proud of all of you, and for all the underclassmen, I hope that you guys do great things, and for all of my seniors going on into college for wrestling, I hope that you guys do great things, and I hope that you guys have so much fun pursuing the sport that you guys know and love.
Well, that's awesome.
I'm Sophie. I'm here with my mom. Hey, Mom. I am a senior, so really happy that I got to wrestle with these girls for the past 3 years. It's really great seeing all the girls and all their accomplishments. Really proud of all you guys, so yeah.
Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm here with Dad and Mama Tay.
Oh, thanks. I'm Scarlett. I don't have much to say, but I say we got a pretty cool team.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ayla. I placed 5th in state. Pretty proud. Last year I was, just short. Got beat out my ticket round. It's sad that I'm a senior this year, but, on to bigger and better things. I'm here with my parents and my little sister.
I don't want to interrupt. You're going on to wrestle, correct?
I am going on to wrestle at Indiana Tech.
Yep.
Yeah, I got a scholarship there.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lily. This is my 3rd year wrestling. Last year I was a state qualifier. This year I got 6th. It's pretty much, you just have to practice really hard to get where you want. My practice partner is pretty good, so that kind of helped.
So we're introducing our family. My mom and my dad are in Vegas, so I have the Bridges over here supporting me right now. I'm Jaslyn Diaz-Avalos. I wrestled for 145 last year. I was a runner-up. Freshman year, I was 7th. This year, runner-up again. Like what Lily said, it's about practicing hard every day. Having a good practice partner that pushes you, even though there's times you don't want to wrestle, but you got to. Yeah.
So, Jazz, I think the girl you wrestled in the last match is ranked nationally, correct?
Yeah.
And what was she ranked nationally?
2nd national, yeah.
And it was a close match. She won't talk about it, but I will tell you it was a very close match. I think was it 5-0 in the end. But a couple changes. I know you had her that one time when she made a little mistake and you were right there. But congratulations, it was great seeing you do that. Yeah.
I'm also here with my parents and my grandma.
Good save.
Hi, I'm Haley. I wrestle 125. This is my 1st year wrestling, and I've only been here for 6 months, but this team really made me feel like I had a place here, and I just love you guys.
Awesome. I'm Tina Tonte. I'm the girls' coach. I'm honored to be their coach. They're very inspiring young ladies, as you can see and hear some of their experiences they talked about. I will say we started the morning at that first IHSA girls state tournament with a limo, which was pretty epic. we wanted to make it really special. We also wanted to inspire some of our younger girls that if they make it to state, we'll get them a limo too. So, and we got that approved, right? Yes? Okay. And I brought my husband. Okay.
Is that okay, Bill? I'm Jim Tante. I'm kind of the, I don't know, I watched them do their thing because they had it together. Great group. I know, this group's been together for, 3 years when we really started the girls program, but some have been, a little bit longer than that as well. But to see this group come together, and their first year they were, conference champs, and then we weren't conference champs. I don't know if you remember that, but there was a little scoring error there, a little mistake there. So, but they were building on that, and they're like, we could do better than that. We could do better next year. And if you were at this or followed anything at the state, we were actually leading the state about halfway through, and we were right there to win a state title. We didn't get taken over at second place until I think it was 132 weight class in the finals. So we were right. The team that won state we actually beat this year in a dual meet. Columbus East won it, and we beat them at Columbus East. So great group. They've done some really cool things. They were with the press. They did some neat things on pictures and were on TV. And this group's been fun, man. And they work really, really hard. If you came into a practice, you see them smiling up here like they're all nice and stuff. Not so much. They're tough. It's a tough group. So thank you, guys.
Yep. Congratulations. We're going to get one picture. So if we can go to 2 rows so we can get everybody in here. And then Robin's our paparazzi. Then your mom and dad can then take their pictures. So, yeah. Thank you. All right. Can you get all of us? What do you need to do? Yeah.
Get your smile.
Get your smile on.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Congrats.
Okay. Can you get everybody?
My normal scowl.
All right.
Gone.
How's this?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Congratulations, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thank you very much. Coach, good job. Thanks, everybody. Good job, Jazz. Good job. Yes, good job. Congrats.
Thank you for the pencil.
Yeah, you're welcome. Congrats. Congrats.
I will be using this as
All
a
right,
college
thank you.
board.
Congrats.
Congratulations. Great work.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to the parents, the coaches, to the whole team, the managers. Nice job. Now we're going to transition to collaboration, the second guiding principle we will hit this evening. And if our SROs could please come forward. National School Resource Officer Day is February 15th, and we would like to celebrate and thank our SROs for their dedication, protection, and mentorship. Their commitment to our students and staff makes a lasting impact, creating a secure and supportive learning environment. Please join me in thanking our SROs.
Thank you very much. We're going to keep walking down. We're going to get in the middle. Yep.
This way, just don't trip on the card.
We love Officer Gentry here. I love how he interacts with our kids, always giving them fist bumps and smiles and waves. They know that they can trust him and that he's keeping us safe.
I love how our SROs create relationships with our students. I like resource officers in our schools because they greet us every morning in a very nice, polite way.
I appreciate how our SROs help direct traffic at the end of the day during dismissal.
I love how our SROs keep our school safe.
I'm going to let you introduce yourselves and tell everyone which buildings you serve.
Good evening, everyone. Doug Cox, and I'm at the high school I'm here for the pencils, by the way. And also, I did know that there was pizza at other schools, so there might be some swapping of assignments on who goes where from here on out. But I work with some really great other SROs. The high school's a great place to work, and congratulations not only to the girls wrestling team, but the boys who are moving on and the other athletics at Franklin High School that are moving on.
Thank you, sir.
Derek Hartman. I'm at the middle school full-time. I also get pizza from Mrs. Holman back there in the back. If Doug comes down, no more pizza.
I'm Jake Maxwell. Typically, I will be at Creekside and Union.
I just want to thank you for all that you do to serve our community. There's so many behind-the-scenes things that happen at school, but if you ever need someone to be there in a moment, they're here for us, and that's what I love. Sheriff Cox has had a long history of a successful career, and now when he retired from the outside of public service, he came to us, and I feel very fortunate. And he's also the person that we've kind of listed as our chief now. He's the person they go to, and we just thank him and thank all of the gentlemen that are part of this journey. You keep us safe. The kids love you. I get to hear the comments from elementary all the way up. So thank you very much. On behalf of the board and the administration team, we say thank you. Oh, we got to get a picture. Did you get a picture? Not yet, paparazzi. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We did want to mention a couple of more important members of our community. I will start with the school counselors. National School Counseling Week was last week, and our counselors are not only here with us, they're not here with us this evening. We didn't ask them to come back tonight, but we wanted to take a moment and recognize and appreciate the incredible work that they do day in and day out with our students. They guide students through academic challenges, they offer support and encouragement, and they truly do make a difference every day. So if you have an opportunity and you haven't yet, please thank your school counselors in your building. Thank you.
And I really like school counselors. All right, and the last thing, for all you don't know, my wife's the counselor at Webb. So if you don't know, that's the little joke right there. But we also have one community family we want to say thank you to. We honored the wrestling team tonight for their outstanding success at the state level, but also then the guys continue to do quite well. This family, the Strain family, so please come on up, donated a piece of equipment that keeps our athletes safe while they're on the mat. They purchased a UV ultraviolet cleaning machine that after the wrestlers compete, we run it over the mat, and it helps any viruses or anything that comes on because of it wrestling. And that's a very special thing for us. So we want to say thank you. And I have 2 pencils for your machine. And thank you very much. And I heard that Nicole's going to speak for so thank you very much. And then we'll turn to Mr. Doty as well. So go ahead.
Okay, we just wanted to say thank you for everything. A lot of you already know, but Will was involved in a really bad work accident at the end of last year, well, beginning of last year, 2024. And we did not think he would walk again, which clearly he is. But my principal, Mrs. Ray at Webb, and the wrestling team kept everything going for us, and it was so great to be a part of our family. And I was lucky enough to work for Franklin Schools at the time, and I didn't have to worry about anything while I could focus on his recovery. And wrestling has been his life since then because he's not able to work yet, so this has kept him going. So we just wanted to say thank you in a way that made sense for everybody.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to have you guys come right here. We get one more picture. Do you want to say anything, Mr. Doty?
I don't think I can top that.
Okay.
I don't know why I said anything too great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, I was going to say, if you do not want to stay for the meeting, this is the point where you need to dash for the door.
Officer Gentry, you're welcome. Officer Wooten. And yes, Gentry.
Next on the agenda is the appointment of the board members for the superintendent committees. And I will read those how we have assigned those. Jennifer Mann will be on collective bargaining and communication council, and then Brett will be on athletic council, collective bargaining, strategic task force. Deb will be on RDC and music council. David will serve on the legislative council, and I will serve on the C9 Superintendent Strategic Task Force and the Ag Committee.
And just a reminder for everyone in the community as well as the board, when these meetings take place, we do publish them as a public meeting, and that's why they are still the superintendent's committees. But since there's a board member present, that's the requirement now in the state. So if you have an interest in one of those, we'll look for the agenda and we'll get it posted. So thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. Are there any public comments? Okay. Are there any questions from the board?
I would like to highlight a few things on here. On the donations, we did receive $1,000 from an anonymous donor for unpaid lunches, so that's great. We received a Brannigan grant in December for the calendar year 25 in the amount of $37,000 and $37,500. Couple of things that will be funded from that. We have 3 $1,000 scholarships for senior projects. That's been in place for a few years now and is a great thing for those seniors. And then this year we decided to focus on Northwood for Brannigan and have hired 2 certified part-time teachers to work with those second grade students leading up to IRE. Second and third grade. And then the FEC classroom grants. FEC distributed a record of over $35,000 to various teachers that had applied for that program. So that's the end of donations. The property usage contract, this is a long-time land usage contract of 36.1 acres at the high school. Joe Bill Messinek has leased that ground for a long time. Usually I bring this in December, but we needed to make sure we had decided on placement for the ag building. So now that we have, we'll be able to continue that land usage agreement for the full 36 acres. And then we added a position this time called school psych interns. And this is an initiative to try to recruit and retain those interns to come and work with us exclusively. These are hard positions to fill. So if we can offer them a paid internship, they're going to be much more likely to stay here and join the Franklin family.
A couple other things to note. First, I want to welcome Mr. Yant to the board. And a lot of things that we're doing right now on the consent are things that have happened in the past. And that's why they're consent agenda items, just as for all the board. One that I would like to highlight is back to professional travel. when we have our professional staff travel out of state, we come to the board and request your permission for them to attend a different convention or something. So for example, the SROs that we just highlighted will be going to the national conference for SROs, if you approve that tonight as well. And then we have a middle school journalism teacher going out to a conference, and they did win a national award. So this is kind of in conjunction to that. And then the AATF is part of foreign language program where one of our teachers has been selected to present at the conference. So we're bringing that to you tonight to highlight those and those overnights. Also on the shared service agreement down on N, as you all know, Earlywood was in existence for over 50 years. If you were in our community and part of the journey, that building is literally coming down, and also the entire thing has been dissolved at this point. The shared service agreement is really the last piece of the shared service programs that we have with our former colleagues in Earlywood. We have taken on some of the low density, high resource positions that we don't have enough students where they would be fully employed by Franklin Schools. And so we will partner with NHJ and Greenwood for shared services. So this contract, and Mr. Young did help us. He actually drafted it for us after we met the requirements. Is being brought to you today, and you'll notice there are no names attached. And the reason is we want to make sure you all approve the grant, and then we'll send it back to respective schools for the people and the grants. One of the things that I can tell you that was in question after Mr. Young created it was the termination of the contract agreement. We have asked for a 30-day termination. So if we get students in that we would need to service and no longer share services, we would give that partner school 30 days. There was one school that would like a March 1st deadline and be requiring us to keep the person all year or share services all year. And in talking to Mrs. Scott, that really is not feasible sometimes because that would cost us money if we stayed in the partnership and allowed them to keep the person, and then we had to add a teacher or a portion of a teacher. And so that's the only real issue in the language that came up between the schools. The other schools are also taking the service agreements after we approve this to their boards, and that is something where we need to get solidified so that Tina can bill the other schools for shared services. And it will go all the way back to the start of this school year, 24-25 on that. And also, I want to say the school interns are a really good opportunity. We're also modeling after Earlywood. One of the things, it's an hourly rate that we're going to pay, so it's not a salary for that spot, and they'll get no insurance benefits as regard to that. So thank you, Tina, for that in that space. And last thing I think we have is summer courses. Dr. Warland.
Yes, we will run a traditional summer school program for us. We intend to include elementary in addition to some high school credit recovery. However, one key difference this year is we've streamlined the number of courses we're offering at the high school. And a lot of that is due to change in legislation, where over the next 3 years, they're going to continue to minimize the number of courses they will fund at the high school level. Again, we would like to offer these courses to help with credit recovery for a number of our students. Elementary, they will fund 2nd and 3rd grade. We are hoping to offer kindergarten 1st and 4th with some Title I dollars that we have for that purpose as part of the EdFlex waiver that we approved at the January meeting.
Thank you. That's all. President Nelson.
Any questions?
What's typical summer school enrollment?
I would say at the elementary level, we've been running in most cases one classroom, and it may range from 15 students to closer to 20, 25. We need a 15-to-1 ratio in order for the state to reimburse us. So we like around 17 to account for absences. High school varies because we've offered so many online courses. You might have 15 students in one course and two in another, or
Right.
some variation of that. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
How are we determining what we are going to offer to high school?
So the state sent a list of courses that they will fund this year, and then I sent it to the high school and said, where do you see a need for credit recovery from our students? And those were the courses that they selected from the list. Science, social studies, math, reading. The list is pretty minimized from the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, and Dr. C just mentioned band. So band is a course that we've offered in the past. I don't actually think it was for credit, but it was an experience. Yeah, Steve is shaking his head no, but it was an experience that we used for a number of our students. We can no longer fund band through state funds either. So that's something you won't see on the list this year. Ag is still on the list. That is still being funded. And then you'll see a number of English classes, some social studies classes. Yeah, PE, summer PE, they're going to still fund.
If there are no more questions, we'll just need a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. We'll move on to the superintendent reports, the new Indiana diploma.
Good, thank you, President Nelson. I've asked Mr. Ahaus to come and give another run at his diploma he presented on Tuesday to the 8th grade parents in this same auditorium. And there was some information I thought that it would be great for all of you to hear. And so Mr. Ahaus is here to present the new Indiana diploma.
You take it off.
You can take it off if you want to just hold it.
Not well.
It's all.
I think it's on.
It's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Matt leave? Oh, there it is. Okay.
It's on. Okay, Tuesday night we had the opportunity to talk to 8th grade parents. We had a pretty good crowd. That's not always a heavily attended event, but our counselors normally run that and talk about 8th grade scheduling, kind of talk to parents about what they're getting into as they come over to the high school. But with the new diploma, we expanded the conversation a little bit with them. Is that something that the 8th graders, that's their new diploma. So I know some of you, I believe we did a board quarterly report. It's been a little while ago. I don't remember if that was in the fall. I think maybe we talked a little bit about that. But at the time, we didn't have some information. There was still quite a bit to be learned about what the diploma was going to look like. We kind of had an idea of the structure, and it delayed, and really it was almost Christmas before we really started to get information about some of the details that would impact scheduling. So when we met with 8th grade parents, we talked about the bigger view of it, which is what I can kind of run through with you again. I think it's, even if you got that at that moment, it might have just been a lot of information that went through, and getting a chance to look at it a couple of different times might be good. And we also now know some of the details of what the courses are that might impact scheduling. Not so much in a freshman year, but certainly as sophomores and juniors and seniors, some of those things start to become impactful. So we started with just some of the information about, okay, which way am I going there? There we go. Okay, just a quick review of the diploma itself. If you remember from some of that conversation, graduation pathways is something that we've been working through for a number of years now, where they took the graduation process and really broke it into three. We just call them buckets, so we have the actual diploma itself, we have the employability category, and then the post-secondary competency. So the post-secondary competency and the employability is really what they added to the diploma. And so if you're looking at that diagram, the yellow box 1, they really didn't touch. So even when they added boxes 2 and 3, or buckets or whatever we want to call them, they really didn't touch the diploma. So the diploma itself had been what probably most all of us knew when we got our diploma back whenever that was. So we created the senior project, which is something every student has to complete to graduate from Franklin High School. That was our way of looking at that employability part and creating a scenario in which a student can be creative and passionate about whatever they want to go into, but they create a senior project, they give back to the community, they're giving back to someone, they're showing all the employability skills, organization, preparation, presentation, all of those kinds of things. So when they're done with their senior project, we feel pretty comfortable that they've checked box 2, and every student in our district does that. Box 3, the post-secondary competency, that is a certain number of AP courses, and actually I guess I should run through the slides. That might be a little helpful there.
Mr. Hayhouse, if you could tell us what slide you're clicking to, the board doesn't have
I'm just
control of
talking,
that.
and then I
Yeah.
have slides I'm not even using. So,
Yeah.
so the second one, so the next slide that you go to, it talks about box 3. So I'm kind of working in a reverse
Thank
order
you.
here. So box 3, you can see some of the things listed there. When it originally started graduation pathways, we know the honors diploma you had the diploma, the Core 40 diploma, the honors diploma. Those are really your only 2 options. You can get a certain cut score in the ACT, SAT. There's a variety of things. So when they went to graduation pathways, especially in the academic competency category, there are lots of things listed there. So our students that are going to C9 and completing a program or certification or checking that box, there's lots of different ways that they can do that, as well as our in-house graduation pathways. So those 2 things we've been working with for a number of years now. That's not new information. As I click to the next one, that's the one I was talking about with our senior project and employability. You can see some of the things that are listed there, and we feel like our senior project accomplishes that. So that really hasn't changed, but then the state came back and said, hey, let's go back and change the other one. Let's go back and now go after the diploma itself. So that is this round, and that really sent a lot of, I don't know, chills down people's minds when they're like, okay, what are you going to do with the diploma? Like, where is that going to go? So there's all kinds of stuff floating out there around what the diploma would look like. So on that, I guess it'd be the 4th slide there. There's a link that you can go into. I've got a couple of slides that go there as well. But they went through and looked at all of the credits, the classes that their students are taking. In some ways, I think they tried to do with what they did with the other boxes is provide a lot more options. So I do think it's not quite as scripted. I think when we got our diploma, you just got a list of courses, and it was like, take all of these courses. Take these, and then you add on some extra ones that you want to take, and that's what we'll call your diploma. Or if you were going for an honors diploma, there was a whole list of courses you had to take to hit the honors diploma, and you got that. So in some ways, we were, I guess, used to it just being simplified, that when the idea was like, well, we'll just open it up, was a little bit scary. So that's as they weren't answering questions, and we're getting closer and closer. That's probably been the toughest part, is the 8th graders. We're getting ready for a scheduling night where we have to talk to them about what we need to talk to them about in January or maybe early February, and we're getting close to Christmas, and the state hasn't even told us what some of those classes are going to be. So that was really the stress behind it. And then, of course, there's all the planning. Do we have the teachers? Do we have the certifications to get some of these classes done? Do they need to take them as 8th graders or 9th graders? We feel a little more comfortable with that now, but some of the time, especially when we talked to you last time, a lot of those were just questions that we still had. So if we take a look at the actual comparison there's a slide that shows you the current plan that we're on. So that's everyone that's in our high school right now is under what we call the Core 40, Indiana Core 40 process. And you can see to the right of that diagram the future new Indiana diploma. Now, students that are in the high school now actually can opt into the new diploma, so that opportunity is there. They did that with graduation pathways when they set a year where everyone has to graduate that way using the box 2 and box 3 that we showed you. But before that, we could opt in some students into that. We've been studying that. I'm not really sure there's a lot of students that would benefit. If we find some, we will provide them with that opportunity. But right now, they're already on a path, so in some ways it would probably just shift what they're doing. I'm not sure it would. We haven't really found a lot of situations where we feel like that will be that beneficial. But if we find some, we would try and do that. But we're really planning for this 8th grade group coming over. You can see, if you kind of study that out, some of the differences. I'll show you a slide here in a second that describes that difference a little bit better. But on the next slide, this is the one that probably hits some of the things that you might want to know about the diploma. I've added some notes out to the side. So English, math, and still some of the same categories. If you just read from the top, the English, they've added speech. So you can see there's a communication-focused class, In our building, that would be like a speech class. So it used to be that you got 8 credits all in English. There's kind of some different options in English, but now they've prescribed or set speech as one of those. You can see the same thing in math. Math has kind of done the same thing. They've opened it up, so there are some courses. The state has a whole list. There's still some waiting on an approved list that people have proposed around the state, and the state hasn't really okayed them to count as certain math credits. So you can see it, and like even in the first one, it says 2 credits in English 9, 1 credit of communication focus. Like I said, that'll be a speech class at this point, and then 5 additional English credits. So they can pick those up in a variety of ways in English. So that's where that flexibility comes in and some of that. Same thing if you look at math, 2 credits in Algebra 1, that's pretty standard. They will take a personal finance class, so that's added. That did not used to be a requirement, so that's added. Again, not necessarily bad things, just new things, and we have to get teachers ready to take care of that. And then 4 additional math credits. So we're not really sure what those 4 additional will include. There is a list of courses that you would all be familiar with: geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, all those things. But there also may be in additional classes that they're still kind of waiting on to be approved that will go into that category and provide some options for students. So in science, a couple of the changes there: a computer science course and 2 credits in STEM. And so there'll be a list of courses that fall into that STEM category that students would have to hit. As you move down through there, social studies, one change would be that economics. It used to be as your senior year, probably most of us took government and econ. That was pretty standard operation. Now econ's no longer in there. I would guess it's because they've thrown the personal finance class in there, so they removed the econ piece. But now also 2 credits in world perspective, so that's where world language comes in there, which world language used to be a separate piece that just focused in, for most of our students, on the honors diploma, was where they picked that up. But now it falls into the social studies world as a world perspective. It's still, we'll get to it here in a second with what an honors diploma now looks like, but PE has been knocked down from 2 credits to 1 credit. So you used to have to take a full year of PE. Now it's just 1 semester of it. And then down at the bottom, PCC, which used to be a district requirement. So we had everybody in the district take PCC at one time, preparing for college and careers. We removed that. Now the state's added that back in, so that's just us getting back into the routine of teaching that course again, which they've been taking a similar course here at the middle school. So we actually have some students as 8th graders that'll pick up that credit now. So that's good. And then they've moved from 40 credits to 42 credits. So they've bumped up the credits there a couple. So those are kind of the main changes that you would see in that. Again, for our freshmen, it doesn't really impact a lot. They'll take a lot of the classes that they would take as a freshman. It really, beyond the freshman years, where they're going to need to start taking some different courses, figuring out what they want to do, how do they want to hit some of these benchmarks along the way. So we shared a little bit of what their schedule would look like. There's another slide. I don't need to go through all of that, but we have every student enrolled in I'll kind of go to the next one here, in a principal's course too. So if I skip over that scheduling one, we're going to start every student on a graduation pathway, so an in-house pathway that we will keep them on so that we can assure that they're on track to graduate to pick up that academic competency. And then if they go ahead and hit another standard somewhere along the way, like AP courses, or they end up at C9, or they do something like that, then we can potentially take them off there. But every student is a freshman, so their freshman schedule will be math, English, science, probably a social studies course, depending on whether they're picking up computer science or PCC, but they'll have a principal's class in there. So every 8th grader right now is scheduling for a principal's class. Now, that doesn't mean a principal's class just is a succession of 3 classes that would complete a pathway. So even if some of these, like human services, they would take that principal's class, and then it can branch off into a number of different areas. So what you're seeing there doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only direction that they can go. So if they take principles of business management, it doesn't mean that they're going into business management or something like that, but it could branch off into a variety of different areas involving business or marketing or math or things like that. So a lot of details in this, so that's what we've had to really figure out, but I think our group's done a really nice job of coming through that and getting that ready. So I think I'm on the last slide. This would be the very last part, and that it might just take you some time to look through this, but the honors diploma, this is probably where it gets the most complicated. is we used to have a set of courses that you took to get your diploma and a set of additional courses that you then checked off and said, hey, I got the honors diploma. Now they're called seals. So you can hit different levels of honors seals. So the whole list of what's there in each of those different categories, then, so you've got an honor seal and an honor seal plus, and so that's where by the time they start hitting through their freshman year, when they're freshman scheduling, it's like, okay, what direction are we going? Here's the list of things that you're going to have to accomplish to get to that level. So that is very complicated to kind of go through in a setting like this right now, but we'll continue to get information out about that if you have questions about it, and certainly we'll be meeting with freshmen and their parents and everybody as we go along, having those conversations about what direction they're headed. But we talked to the freshman or the 8th grade parents really about how much they get engaged with the scheduling. Like I really think probably in the past as parents we've been able to say, okay, this is pretty much a path that everybody follows. So I see what they're taking, I understand where they're going, we're good. They're gonna get the honors diploma, they're gonna go this direction. Now it is really important to figure out what they wanna do because there are just so many different directions to go. And it doesn't mean they might go off in a wrong direction, it just means they may not be going in a direction that they maybe is most beneficial for them, or there's courses they could be taking that help them a little bit more that still meet graduation requirements. So it's a lot of information. That's just somewhat quick run through. I don't know if it was quick or not, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer some of them.
So do we envision getting ROTC to be able to fulfill that enlistment and service option, or?
We have pursued that. We are still pursuing that. We just got some information here recently about maybe another opportunity. Our efforts before it have kind of fallen flat. I don't know,
Sure.
But not because we haven't tried.
Sure.
So we're still trying to do that, but there's another opportunity that we received some information on, I think last week or the week before. Actually, I sent something today to try to figure out if I can set up a meeting to get more information on that, but connection with Atterbury and Muscatatuck, and trying to figure out how to provide that option if we can get connected with them.
We do have our application still in for our OTC, and the last I heard, it's still down at Fort Campbell, where our regional site is, and so that'd be great if we get it. And I applaud Steve for going down the Ivy Tech path, which is the one he's talking about, and maybe trying to get this opportunity for our kids in that space as well for public service in the military.
Any other questions?
The STEM, so the M typically stands for maths. Does it cross over at all?
There's still some up in the air on what some of those STEM courses would be, but mainly it falls more in the engineering and computer science and some of those areas.
Okay.
We've asked for math to over the time for the state for either those courses that count towards math-based stuff or vice versa, just because they're so related. But there is a list that they've provided, but your general math classes don't fall into that STEM category. So your general like geometries and algebras and things like that. So.
And then the post-secondary competency principal courses, those are Franklin. That's not the state, right? Those are the ones that we offer. So we have to have the certified staff and the courses to be able to do that. There are lots of them. Okay.
You just thin yourself out with your teaching staff on how many so we've created some of these. We're exploring options. So right now we offer 7, and you can see the 7 that are there, but you can create some on your own. It's quite a process, but for right now those are the ones that we offer, but we're always in conversation about, is there a way for us to create new ones or branches off of those?
Will be one of those too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Our JAG program that Mr. Wagner will be talking about is another attempt to get another opportunity in there, something that's a little bit different, which would fall a little, I mean, I don't know that it falls into the ROTC world, but it's that idea of like getting out and doing, experiencing things and doing things, kind of a more active student. So. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll continue to.
Oh, you'll be back.
There will be more.
Thank you.
Okay, the corporation financial report. Yeah,
Okay, I have two reports that I typically do at the end of each quarter. The first one, I refer to that as our financial statement pretty much. If you want to pull that one up, I thought it would be a good idea for you to see a full year. We are budgeted based on calendar year, which if I could have two wishes, it would be that we would go to fiscal year that lines up with the school year. And also my other wish would be if we could move money around. Because you'll see in the unexpended balance column, we have some negatives, but we have positive balances in other areas. If we could move those monies around, it would make my life easier. But and the other thing to point out is you will see the 2026 budget in August for the first time. And that's where we kind of lock in those numbers, which is very early when you're planning the next school year. So oftentimes we know the money might be in another category, but the expense is going to be over here. And we can ask for additional appropriation, which is budget authority, but it's a pretty lengthy process with publications and all those things. So we try to avoid that if we can. So on the financial statement, you've got some line item detail at the top based on the budget column, which is our account codes. So as you can see, if you go down to that first green line, we spent 99.54% of our budget. So great, we came in under budget. It was pretty close, but we did it. And we also purposely issued some stipends at the end of the year as well that we hadn't budgeted. So everything turned out pretty good. I will kind of go over some of the reds. In the remediation line item, that was our literacy cadre grant, and that was also set up on a school year basis to feed into our calendar year budget. So we've always been off a little bit on that. That goes away after this school year, so we will need to absorb that or make sure that we shore up the budget. The payments to other government units, that is, our overage is close to the price that we paid for Earlywood to buy out the other districts. That price tag was, I think, $347,000, and that was not in the budget for that year. So that's why we had an overage there. The support services students, that was bringing on the Earlywood staff into our budget, which we also hadn't counted on. And then transportation, the $674,000 overage, that's mainly fuel cost and overtime. And we talked about the struggles there. We know that budget has never been fully funded. Part of that is because of the tax caps. So, so far we've been able to make up for it in other areas. So,
can I add a couple things about Earlywood? Go back up to the first red line that we talked about. We did do a resolution that says once we get our bond for Earlywood, we're going to pay ourselves back for that cost. So even though, as Tina's highlighted, that's a deficit right now, we do pay ourselves back in that space. Transportation, after 16 years, I can tell you we've never made it. And it is circuit breaker. It is where the property tax caps meet our budget. And we've always had this issue, and we've had to continue to move dollars around to meet that cost. Tina's been wonderful in articulating that issue to me throughout in that space. And it's a tough one. So we are looking at many ways to figure that, but it is a circuit breaker. And at the end of this month, when we do our board retreat, we're going to go into more detail about the finance side of life and how things are done. So this is just a real quick overview of that.
Yeah, we will have some information for the retreat. We are not spending any more in transportation than some of our other peer districts. We just haven't funded it to that level.
Yep.
So we'll dig in deeper at the retreat to that. The next section shows the transfers that we do, either between the education and operations fund, or sometimes we'll do a rainy day transfer for a one-time purchase. The next section, it just summarizes the 5 different funds that we have and the percentage of that budget spent. And then that bottom section actually highlights our cash balances that are in the bank, and we reconcile to the bank statements each month there. We usually have around $20 million in the bank at one time. All right. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay. All right, the next giant spreadsheet is reporting on both cash flow and budget results. So on the left-hand side are the cash flow results. A former board member, I was just doing current, so in this case it would be 2024. Former board member asked me to go ahead and include last year at the same time, just to provide some context. So that's why we have a comparison to the previous year. And then at the bottom, I made some notes on some things just to highlight. We had a decrease in our starting fund balance in our main 3 funds of $1.3 million. Part of that is because we had money left over at the end. We transferred it to rainy day. So that caused some of that $1.3 million overage. Increase in revenues for those 3 funds was almost 1.9 million, but our expenses only increased at 1.5. So that created a positive fund balance for 24 of 578,000. So that's good. That means we're saving more. And then the other item I would highlight, at last month's board meeting, you approved a resolution for me to be able to transfer up to 15% of education fund to the operating fund to cover some of those expenses. Over the years, we've gradually tried to decrease our reliance on those transfers. We need more of that money to stay in the education fund. So between 23 and 24, we reduced our transfers by 847,000. So that's great. The other side shows the budget results, and it's really just a summary of the financial statement that I just went through. And then some notes at the bottom there. Our budget increased by $607,000 from 23 to 24. Our operations fund spending increased. Again, the Earlywood acquisition drove those costs up, and then our increase in transportation cost. Our education fund also increased at a rate of 1.9 million. A couple of reasons for that. We did pay increases for the teachers, got them up to a starting of $50,000. So that was about $1 million, and then most of that remaining was to take positions that we had added with ESSER COVID money and brought them over to the education fund. So this was the format that the former board liked. If you have any suggestions or would like to see it in a different format, I'm happy to entertain those suggestions.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. The legislative update.
As we were preparing the agenda last week, I felt like it'd be good for the next 3 or 4 months that we talk about what's happening at the State House, because it really is probably going to have some significant impact on us. The first one I want to highlight is Senate Bill 1, and that is Governor Braun's initiative to bring down property tax, local property taxes for everybody, wherever they live. You've probably gotten the opportunity to hear a lot from different sources about what's going on. Like the first run for us was over a $3 million hit if the law were to be enacted as written. I don't think that's going to happen. In talking to superintendents and other people very close to the process, we will see some property tax reform. What it looks like, we don't know. I know that the ISBA has been sending you all also updates on that as well. We'll continue to keep you updated. Tomorrow is a very important day at the State House, because tomorrow they're going to hear more testimony and begin crafting what that new language is going to look like. I think if you read over the weekend, Senate Pro Tem Senator Bray talked about, it's a great idea. Listen, everybody would like to see this. I think he used the word aspirational as that aspect. So it's definitely not going to be what Governor Braun proposed at the beginning, but as you know, we do have to figure out how to make this thing work, and so that's what we are going to see. So that's a big one. It's also in the House Bill number 1001. So we're going to see reform in that space. Another one in terms of property taxes that impacts us is also the referendum language. Our referendum right now is due to expire in 2028. There is conversation. There are three parts to the referendum I think everybody needs to hear about. One of them would make all referenda be on general elections, so on even years. And that is to try to get more people out and have a voice in the conversation about the local referenda. The second part of that would ask schools to tell us how much do you need when you ask the question to get money back. And that is in regard to, like ours this time says, we would like 23 cents per $100 of your assessed value. Well, most people aren't going to sit there and do the math and say, what does that really mean? So they would like to see, a school would say, we need X amount of $1 million over the next 8 years for the referendum. That's the other thing they would like. The third one is probably the one that I find a little concerning, and that is they're asking for a gap year. So if you passed a referendum in the last 8-year cycle, they're asking for a gap year before you ask again or receive the money again. So that would obviously be a significant impact when you start looking at budgets and those different things. So that's one thing that we're looking at in terms of that language and sharing information about what's happening in the referendum cycle. So that's one that we'll continue to keep our eyes on. Another one that Tina and I are watching, once again, it goes to building, and that's special education cameras. You want to talk about that one for a second?
Yes, there's a potential bill that would require, mandate schools to put cameras in special ed classrooms. Unfunded mandate.
Of course.
So we'll see how far that one goes, but that is a potential as well.
This is the second time that this has been brought up. I do think eventually you're going to see something come out of that. And it's really in regard to the most vulnerable kids, where they may not be able to go home and tell mom and dad what happened, that they could see into that classroom space. So that's something we're obviously monitoring. Another one, the 62% to 70%.
Yes, so right now, we're required to use at least 62% of our education fund for teacher salaries and benefits. So there's a potential increase to 70%, and right now we're at about 65. So that would be a significant dollar amount for us to take from, one bucket and put it in the other.
On the curriculum side, I think they continue to talk about transparency, talk about what they're doing with regard to all K-12 curriculum. There was a large conversation last week about what's still being taught, and I know that we're watching that. Anything else on the curriculum side, Dr. Worland?
I would say the other key thing is around teacher licensure. They're looking at some opportunities for licensure for paraprofessionals into teachers. They're also re-examining the literacy endorsement from the last legislative session and relieving some of the burden that's currently on teachers. Originally, the law said 80 hours and you had to sit for the exam. They're now examining the 80, maybe looking at 40 hours and removing the exam component. They are also talking about adding a literacy endorsement requirement for administrators.
I would add too, there is a possibility that we could lose the business personal property tax. There's a bill that would, they're proposing it would be phased out. And, up to now, we haven't really pushed back on any TIFs because, they roll off eventually, and we got this personal property tax with the new business coming into town. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but we'll have to take a look at the financial impact of that as well.
Senate Bill 143 is on parental rights. In the last 4 years, we've received information on parental rights, but it really came out of the Attorney General's office. This one is to kind of codify some of those things in terms of parental rights and what they're able to have access to. And for us, it's everything, but that is really a significant one. If you look at, for example, it prohibits a government entity from directing a child to advise, direct a course, to withhold information from their parents. We would never do that, but that's something that's out there. So that's one I think you're probably going to see continue to move forward and codify into law, and we'll continue to do that. We welcome parents in that conversation with us along the journey for their kids. I think just in terms of the last one, and we'll talk about, there's a thing that's called the max quotient that we have that controls budget and levy, and that one's also being reviewed in what it looks like. Tina will go into more detail in a couple weeks on that with our financial partners, but that's one that if you're looking through the legislative agendas, look at that side of the finance, because I think that's probably where they're going to really try to control things. When it all comes said, that's what I think they'll do, is to control that piece of it. But we'll see what does come into play. It's always a fun time to watch what happens at the General Assembly around this. Mr. Jones asked, is it still in committee or did it make it out? Many of these are still in committee. Friday is the halfway point. If they're going to have something out for their respective houses to see, it needs to be out Friday. Now, that doesn't mean that in the next round they can't bring other stuff in, but it at least means that they have to be a part of that conversation. So we'll continue to be watching that. And just are there any things that you've heard about that you want us to look at that we didn't mention?
No, I think you covered them all.
Well, next month we'll continue to do that in our conversations, just to highlight that. If you ever do want to testify or anything, I know that they've asked for people to go up and talk. There's one. Oh, I did forget one. One that near and dear to all of you.
Right.
This one just passed out of committee. It's now on to the full House, and that is school board election become partisan. You would have to declare Republican or Democrat as you run for the seat. That was one that also came out last time. It got tabled. This time it did pass out of that space, and I think it'll be passed on to the Senate. So I think that'll be one that you'll continue to see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to action items. Any public comment? Okay. And we have the jobs for America's graduates.
Mr. Wagner.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the board for the opportunity last month to present to you the reasons why we would like to bring the JAG program to Franklin Community High School. And I know, Mr. Young, you didn't have a chance to be here last month. I'm not sure if you had a chance to take a look at the slides, if that was presented to you or not. But I wanted to come. Dr. Clendenning asked me to just be present here to answer any questions that you may have before you guys consider a vote on the approval for that program for Franklin Community High School. So are there any questions I can answer based off of the last month's presentations?
I just want to say thanks. I did have a question, but you and Dr. Worland answered it for me, and I appreciate your
And just for the rest of you, I believe your question was about the longevity of individuals in the JAG specialist position. The JAG program said they don't keep actual statistics of that, but just the individual, the regional manager, Joe, who was here last month, she said she's been in her position for quite some time, and from her just experience of managing all the different JAG specialists throughout her region, she says typically 2 to 4 years is a typical lifespan of a JAG specialist. And a lot of times what happens is individuals use this to kind of dabble a little bit with the idea of teaching, and then when they realize they like it, they go on to get a full teaching certificate and license and then become a full teacher in the classroom setting with a school corporation. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing that individuals leave the position after 2 to 4 years. It's usually because they enjoy teaching so much, they then want to take the next step to become a fully licensed teacher. But she does have somebody in her region that has been a JAG specialist for 10 years now. So it is kind of one of those things where if you really enjoy it, you really like it, you stick with it. Yeah.
Yeah. There was just some concern about with the mentor piece of that being such an important part.
Absolutely.
If it's a constantly changing role, that makes that more difficult, I would think.
Yeah, you're right. Are there any other questions I can answer?
Will we have 60 students participate in year one, or is that an aspirational number?
That would be an aspirational number, but we don't have any reason to believe we cannot reach that number. When we consider the students that we are hoping will take this opportunity as part of their graduation pathway, it's one of the things that I talked about last month. That's one of the great benefits of the JAG program, is that it does provide students with one of those graduation pathways they can use to get their diploma. But then also, as I mentioned last month too, that it's not just for certain types of kids. It really can be a program that works for all kids, whoever just might feel like they would benefit from having this type of curriculum in areas where maybe they are, excuse me, very strong in, especially in those kind of soft skills of life as you grow as a young individual and become an adult, that maybe you didn't quite have the ability to learn, how to write a proper resume, or what does a good work ethic look like. And obviously sometimes we expect the parents in the households to be the ones to bring their children up and to educate them about those things, but as we all know, not every child has that opportunity. And so we see this as a program that can be beneficial to a wide range of different kids. So even if there's individuals that are not going to be the JAG program for a graduation pathway, it could still be a program that they find interest in because they really want to develop more of those soft skills to help them be ready for after high school.
Thank you.
All right, no questions? Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll just need a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve the JAG program.
Second.
Sorry, Deb.
It's okay.
All right, with that, if you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? It passes. Discussion items, the school calendar.
Yes. I'm always teased about the school calendar. We were talking about 2026, 2027, and just for the record, I said this in discussion today, but I do have families calling me about this calendar already.
Right.
So we do have
When is spring
families
break?
around the community who do plan ahead. So, and really it's not that far away. So 26, 27, there are really no surprises in this calendar. We don't make changes, let's say, to how we've traditionally conducted fall break or the spring break or the winter break without surveying our community. So I just, as a point of process, I do want to clarify on that part. This process involves an in-depth meeting with our teachers We had, oh my, probably 16 to 18 teachers this year who joined us in this conversation. We had parents involved in this conversation. It was actually great. And I thanked discussion today. I want to thank the administrators too, who attended as well and promoted teachers, but it was one of the best collaborative groups we've had. This calendar is lovely because it opens up some space. The calendar we're in and the next calendar we have, and I'm happy to have this conversation sometime, but they're compressed for different reasons. But this calendar lets us breathe a little bit, so that might have facilitated the conversation. But teachers were pleased, the parents engaged in the conversation were pleased, and so I just present it for discussion, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
You might want to go over the color coding real quick.
Good call. Color coding really quickly. There is a legend at the top, but the golden days are the normal student days. The dark blue days, those are days that are the breaks, so the fall break and the winter break and so on and so forth. Anytime you see pink, those are just the teacher days. So our teachers have a 184-day contract. Our new teachers attend 2 extra days in July. So those 2 pink days in July are just for the new teachers to the district, where we orient them at the district level the first day, and then they are oriented in their buildings the second day. The green day, you'll notice on this calendar, there's only one, and it's that spring senior project day. It is also prom at the high school, but that's an e-learning day, and we do professional development that day around the district. That means we have 2 remaining in this calendar within our legal limit for e-learning days for this year. In the event we had an emergency or a weather delay or some other reason to keep students at home. Just as a reminder, virtual days are unlimited. Those days are not traditionally on the calendar. Now you will see spots where you'll see SAT day, for example, at the high school. That's a day coming up actually for us this year where juniors are in the building, but the rest of our students, due to some of the requirements around the administration of that assessment, are then at home learning at home for that day. 26, 27, be here before we know it.
And yes, I do give her a hard time, but she does a really good job of putting this calendar together and getting a lot of input as we embark on these. So thank you very much. Great job.
Okay, the bullpen tournament rental agreement. Mr. Doty.
Thank you. Our baseball team was invited to play in a PBR event. PBR stands for Prep Baseball Report. They're an online magazine and have a big presence with college and professional scouts. But the reason it says bullpen tournaments is because where that PBR event would be played, it's sponsored by Bullpen, which is up at Championship Park in Kokomo. And so this just outlines what our fees are and the language within, and all the ticket sales and gates and gate passes and that kind of thing. So happy to answer any questions. It will be on April 19th. We play Zionsville and Valparaiso, two really quality opponents for our baseball team, and this is great exposure for our kids. So happy to answer any questions, but hopefully we can
just leave the metal spikes and sunflower seeds.
That's right. I was going to say that too.
Is this a home game for us? Would have this been a home game or not?
No, it would
okay.
not. It would not be a home game. No.
All right.
You said it's April 19th. It says on here April 18th through the 19th. On
the we will play on the 19th. There's other games playing on that Friday. Our 2 games are actually on the Saturday. The 19th.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Looks good.
Thanks very much. I'll hopefully be back next month for approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to highlight for the board, most of the discussion items need public comment. That's one of the requirements by the state law that happened a few years ago. For example, like this one seems like a pretty easy one to say yes to, right? So in the past, we would have said, can we move it to action item and go ahead and vote? But because we're required to have public comment on all action items, that's why we have things in discussion that may seem easy to say yes to, that you don't have the authority to move up. So I just wanted to highlight that as we travel forward. This next one's another example of that one. So,
hi, I'm Katie Smith, and I'm the principal at Union and the Cub Academy director, and we are on our 10th year of being in operation in our elementary buildings. But when we originally started Cub Academy, we wanted to provide something during the summer for families that weren't educators or were Franklin School employees that needed something over the summer for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. So when we started it, I gave a little history just because everyone's new on the board. We ran that camp for $125 a week. I only did assistants, I staffed assistants, and we wanted to make it really reasonable without a lead teacher in that role. Just last year was the first year we raised the fee, and it went up to $150 a weekly fee. Because of some great things that we've done for our staff and with the raises, we can't have that low fee anymore. So I provided a little history there for you on the one slide, just so you would know. And we've always ran it for 40 days just because of the calendar always fit 40 days. This year I'm able to get 2 more days in there because of how the year ends and how the year begins. So I am proposing 42 days this year, just to get 2 more days in for the families that don't align with those school employee schedules, and make it the same weekly fee as we do during the school year. It didn't make sense to do something in between $150 and $195, so we were just going to align that with the weekly fee during the school year. It's a theme-based camp. It runs the same daycare hours from 6:45 to 5:30. And we've ran that out of Needham for the last few years. I'm still working on that location, but I'd like to propose to raise that to $195. One, because we're paying our awesome preschool assistants and employees a lot more now, and to compensate some of that for the revenue part of it. And then, of course, 42 days. We are going to go ahead, per review of this, do the 10% discount for multi-siblings. We have a lot of twins or close kids in age, and then for Franklin School employees, because we still have some employees that do use us over the summer as well. So that is the proposal for the summer camp. We're getting ready to do registration for 25-26 in March, so I'll do a little plug on that. On March 4th, we'll register any Franklin School staff. And then on March 11th, we'll open that up to the community. All those registration nights will be at Northwood, next door, just a convenient location. We don't have any classrooms there, but it just makes it very convenient in the middle of the Franklin Schools county boundaries. We'll have a room at Union again next year for the last year. We'll have 2 rooms at Needham for the last year, next year, and 3 rooms at Webb. And the fees for that will stay the same. Didn't know if you had any questions. We do provide a morning and afternoon snack. I love buying snacks. But that's all I wanted to bring. Any questions? Okay.
Looks good. Thank you.
I think Katie mentioned, Katie mentioned one thing about this being the last year, next year for that. When we go to Earlywood, we're also going to probably increase the number of opportunities we have in the summer. As we travel forward, because as you know, we're setting it up for 300 kids in that school. So where it's limited right now, when we go to one site, we're going to open it up and for a lot more families. I know, like at Kickapoo, they have 150 families, and it sold out in a matter of minutes.
6 or 7 minutes.
So there's a need for that. We're going to continue to provide that need as we travel up to Earlywood.
There's a need for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, like you know. We just only service the students that are part of our Cub Academy family, because if I opened it up, it would just explode. But we'll be able to do some more options when we get to our center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comments on the discussion items? Okay, board and administrative comments. I just wanted to say thanks to John for sitting in tonight since Roger couldn't be here, and again, welcome to David.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other comments from the board? Admin comments?
We have calendar review just real quickly, and Mr. Betts does have one. That's what I forgot. Thank you. I'm glad you stood up.
Want me to sit back?
Yes, no, I will, please.
I do want to attend Cub Academy Camp. Those snacks and naps sounds awesome. So I might be looking into that. I did want to share that we had Schmidt Architects come a couple weeks ago to one of our admin team meetings at the central office. They brought in their visioning boards with some of the finishes and everything that we're working on for the Cub Academy building. And then they will be here next board meeting to do the same for all the board, to kind of give a bit overall of where we are in that process. And we'll be a little further along at the next board meeting as well. We want to make sure you're aware of that, and you can take a peek at all that before you leave if you're interested as well. Thank you.
Thank you. On the calendar?
Yep. On Wednesday, we have coffee with the superintendent. This is at Main and Madison. It says CBS, but it is Main and Madison, correct? Yes. We're at coffee with the superintendent. Well, we're going to have Mr. Wagner be our guest. He's going to come and talk about the JAG program. And that's usually how I do coffee with the superintendent. It's topical, and then anybody else wants to show up, we'll answer any questions at that time. Dr. Worland usually comes and attends with me, so that if there's a curriculum question, she can answer that as well. And then, Dr. Worland, you want to talk a little bit about the calendar and what's happening?
Yes. Do you feel like sometimes all I do is talk to you about the calendar?
Big on the calendar.
Big on the calendars around here. And I put this in Friday Notes 1 week so that you're probably already informed. The high school did a vote for the teachers, and the teachers have outlined a plan to do an e-learning day on President's Day. Remember, I had asked you for the split. So Union is still going to be virtual. Everyone else will be e-learning that day. Teachers will be e-learning, and then we're doing a virtual day on the SAT day, okay, which is actually what the original calendar said for the high school. And I think I put that in the notes, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those. I apologize for the confusion.
Well, the next item, I just want to say that Tina got the W on the location of the retreat. And so we will be going to the City Council Chamber office for the retreat. And that is scheduled to start at 8. We're going to be over at 4. We have some guests coming in later in the afternoon. And the first part is looking at your role as a school board in terms of what your job is and what it looks like, and kind of give some more historical perspective on that. So that's 8 to 4 on the 25th. Quarterly board visit to Principal Holman's school here coming up in March. And that'll be your first time to experience it as a board. It's a time for her to kind of show and tell. She gets to guide us through what happens at the middle school, what she wants to share information about. Also maybe some things that she's thinking of in terms of vision and opportunities. So that's what we're doing with that. And then we'll look ahead to March and all the fun things that happen with spring break, I guess, on the 27th through the 7th. Fantastic. So with that, that's the end of the calendar.
Thank you. A motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All right. Thank you, everyone.